So the next one we're going to talk about is zero touch configuration. So if we go back to the public safety webinar group here, there's several different items that you can provision in bulk across any different products of ours. Again, from this single pane of glass, just a few clicks. So let's start out with Wi-Fi. So let's say we've deployed several different products that support Wi-Fi. So it might be our Transit Mini in a lot of your cruisers, and then it might be something like an HD2 or HD4 in one of your mobile command vehicles. But regardless, you want the same Wi-Fi networks on all of those different devices. And so that's really easy with Peplink and InControl too. You can just come under this Wi-Fi AP group-wide SSID settings. You can see right now it shows Wi-Fi config is all device managed. So that's kind of one at a time. Each router has kind of programmed its own Wi-Fi settings in it. But we can override that and standardize all the Wi-Fi configs. So first thing we do is we turn on Wi-Fi management. So this just says the routers can ignore their local Wi-Fi configs and listen to InControl for whatever SSIDs are supposed to be provisioned. We can click add a new SSID. We name it, and we can choose which devices or how we provision this now. We've got a lot of flexibility here. So you can just simply say, I want the same network on every one of my devices. That might be the appropriate choice for your scenario. Or you can say, I want it on some devices, and then you can use tags to control which devices are going to actually take that SSID. So different devices might have a different mission or a different role, and so then you can differentiate which devices get which SSIDs. But again, make sure that all of them have that same policy if they're taking that, so that you don't have any room for error when you're configuring your routers. Now you've got all the normal options you would have for encryption and those kinds of things. If you've got external radius, you can use those for more advanced security. You've got the fast roaming capabilities. You've got client isolation if it's more of a guest Wi-Fi or a bring your own device type of scenario. Staging areas, mobile command centers might be good examples where you've got other agencies coming in to assist with an incident, but they don't necessarily need, or shouldn't be giving them your enterprise credentials. But again, you can make a secure private network for them to get on and participate as well with the unbreakable connectivity. So obviously there's tons of different options you can set for each SSID. You've also got captive portal options. So again, you've got tons of control to make the SSID configurations match whatever you want on all of your devices, even if it's different models. So we're going to save this one. Maybe I don't need enterprise for this particular demo. So I just punched in the security key. And we're just going to push it to all the devices. So you can see I missed a few settings, but the system showed me what they were, and we got that figured out pretty quick. So if we go back to the dashboard, we'll let this populate, and you can see now the Wi-Fi config is listed as group level, and the Wi-Fi AP is enabled if it's got this icon here. The other thing you can see is last config applied. And so this is telling me that InControl actually applied a configuration and the timestamp of that. So you can see the devices that support Wi-Fi took this config all a few seconds ago. So this is very real time, right? This is a real-time management system. This isn't going to take minutes or hours to roll out. This is pretty much instantaneous. Now you can see this particular unit doesn't have its Wi-Fi AP enabled. It took the config, but the Wi-Fi is not on. There's a switch in the router that you can turn the Wi-Fi on and off. So you can do that two ways. If we open this BR1 up, you can see right here, there's just this little off slider. If I clicked on that, that would turn the Wi-Fi back on. So you can quickly enable or disable the Wi-Fi at an individual level, but you can also do that at the group level in bulk. So if you click edit, we can check as many units as we want. And then under actions, we can say Wi-Fi AP state. And let's turn that Wi-Fi on. 2 of the 3 already have it on, but we know the other one didn't. And so boom, there we go. Wi-Fi AP is enabled on that router. And again, you can see this device already had it on. It didn't take a config change from this particular event. And same with this one, it was already on, so it didn't take a config, but this unit, you can see very quickly, it did take that. So you get confirmation of these things actually being applied so that you know confidently that whatever change you made is actually making it out to the field and when it did. Now, the other cool thing is this system is going to hold those instructions for any units that aren't online. So if you've got a router that's offline, when you push a config change out, it will take those instructions whenever it comes online next. So you don't have to keep pushing and keep distributing those configurations as units come online. It's going to automatically take those instructions. So other ways that zero-touch configuration plays out in InControl 2 is under the network settings here at the group level. So stuff like firewall rules are another thing that you can manage centrally. And again, you can manage this centrally across all of our different products. So it doesn't matter if you've got different models in play, they all have the firewall capability. So you can provision all our different models with one policy here, or you can create, again, multiple policies and push those out by tags to the appropriate units. I've already enabled this feature, but similar to the Wi-Fi that we showed you, you just check that box to enable managing the firewall. And then you can create a rule set, or you can import a rule set. If you've got a router already configured the way you want it, you can just download that config from the router, import it here, and it's going to automatically build that same configuration in the cloud interface here. I've set up a really simple policy here to show you. I'm calling this region blocking, and this is using a unique feature of InControl 2 to add more security to your users. So on the outbound policy, what I've done is under the default rule, I've said, let's deny everything. So basically, if that's the only rule, the users on the network cannot establish any internet connectivity. Above that rule, I've created one simple rule to allow traffic destined for any region in North America. So this is using the internet IP address assignments to identify whatever website you might be going to or whatever system you might be accessing. Is that IP actually living in the US or not? And so we can detect that. And again, with these simple firewall policies, we can allow you to talk to things in North America, but with that default rule, if it's not in North America, it's going to get blocked. So if your users get sent some sort of weird phishing scam that goes to some server overseas, this rule is going to protect your users from actually clicking on that and getting to that site. Now you can add any other firewall policies you normally would here. But again, the whole concept is that it's going to automatically push this out to all the devices we've selected. So in this case, I've said all balance and max routers, but we could just use that firewall tag instead if we wanted to just selectively choose which devices we push this policy out to. So you might have different policies for users that are out in the field versus, dispatch facilities or offices like that. There might be reasons to have different policies for your devices and your deployment. So you've got tons of flexibility to do that. So you can push out VLANs. Group networks are just kind of helpers for firewall policies. If you got a bunch of IPs that you want to just lump under one name for rules, that's great. Outbound policy. And again, captive portal. So you've got tons of different tools at your disposal to centrally manage and do zero-touch provisioning of all these different capabilities. Of course, you can do firmware and lots of other standard things like that as well in the same bulk manner using tags or group-wide. The last one is our bulk configurator. So instead of managing all these features through InControl, you can take a configuration file from a router that is configured the way you want, and you can template that out to any number of devices. So again, you can upload a configuration file, and then you can choose with tags which devices you want to take that configuration. This particular tool is limited to the same model, so You have to have one config file for each model, but this is a great way to get your devices off the ground. You can do the initial settings with the bulk configuration, so you can get APNs and all kinds of settings like that right. And then you can turn on some of the other more specific tools like the Wi-Fi or the firewall management to build on whatever settings you pushed out in this bulk configurator.